Well, I'll never be happy, but I'll be satisfied. I know, I'm trying to think. It's just I thought, it's not fucking Iraq, is it?
Do that again.
So, I've got a sister that I didn't grow up with, lives in Brisbane, Australia, and we reconnected about 10 years ago, when she came over to see our dad, and ever since then our relationship has grown up to the point where last Christmas we decided to go over and spend Christmas with her and her family, and we had an amazing time. We had a fantastic journey. We treated ourselves because it was a significant birthday for both of us, and we spent a Christmas in Australia, and it was amazing. The kind of trip that you'll remember for the rest of your life. Fast forward to the middle of February, and I get off the phone to Vicky, and she's not having a good time. She's things have gone wrong for her at work. She's got chronic back pain, so she's been laid up for a while. She was really, really low. So I spoke to Anne, and I said, she said, how's Vicky? I said, she's not doing well. I explained to her what the things were that she was going through. And she said, well, why don't you go out and see her? I was like, I hadn't thought of that. And that took a while to process that. And then I thought, yeah, why not? It doesn't have to be a long trip. I've done it before. So we talked about around 8 days, and the reason for that is because we had to be back for a significant hospital appointment. So we get to lunchtime that day, and we'd already lined flights up, and then something occurred to me. My passport was due to expire in 6 months, which isn't a problem for Australia, but as far as we could tell, all the transit countries that we were going through needed at least 6 months on a passport. So at that point it was like, well, that's a showstopper. Anne says, you can get a passport the same day. And I was like, well, there's just too much to think about. So I parked that, got on with my day. And then, obviously the thought had grown, and I said, checked the UK passport website, and there was appointments free for the day after tomorrow. So I said, what do you think? She said, yeah, I think we should go for it. So long story short, I did my application online, and a day and a half later we're in Liverpool at the passport office. Collected the passport that afternoon. Fantastic service from the passport office in Liverpool. And then we got home and the trip was back on. We managed to get flights the following Saturday, and everything seemed to line up perfectly. Checked my Australian visa, and it was still current for the next 12 months. So everything was up to date. But I couldn't check in online, and I couldn't understand why. But I had bags to check in, so I thought I'll sort it at the airport. I get to the airport, and it hit me like a bolt. My Australian visa is linked to my old passport, and the passport number had changed, and that's why it won't let me check in online. So I'm like, well, this is a showstopper now, because the airline won't let me travel without a current visa for Australia. And went to the Qatar desk, and they were fantastic. They picked up the phone, they rang Australia, spoke to the immigration department, and managed to get my visa updated there and then. What an incredible service. And then they checked me in, and even managed to score extra legroom on the second flight. So that was my first showstopper moment. Decided not to tell Vicky that I was coming, because I didn't want to add stress to her. I was there with the intention of going to help out. And I thought that if I stay, I'm on my way, that might make the situation worse. So because I'm traveling on my own, I decided to record as much of it as I could for my sake, for Anne's sake, so how the adventure went, and then maybe turn it into a little video afterwards. The journey begins and the journey goes fine. I get a little trepidation halfway through. Am I doing the right thing? And I'm speaking to Anne. Because Qatar now you can text people while you're flying. It's incredible. And she said, don't worry about it, you know, if she's not there or if it doesn't go well, you could always just spend a week in Australia and come home. Fair enough. That made me feel better that she was okay with it. Anyway, I arrived in Australia straight through immigration, no problems, stayed in my Airbnb the first night, and then woke up the next day really early and managed to get a train from Brisbane to my sister's house. Jumped in an Uber and I'm chatting away to the guy and I'm saying, look, this is what I'm doing. I've come to surprise my sister. And he's getting all the story from me. And then I said, look, don't park outside the house. It's a surprise. And we're chit-chatting, and what does he do? He parks right outside. I throws myself down the back of the taxi and says, keep going, keep going. Anyway, I sneak up to the house and I ring the bell and my brother-in-law answers, and it's that look of amazement on his face. He's like trying to work out what I'm doing on his doorstep. So I told him to go and get my sister and tell him she's got delivery, and I posed as a delivery man. And then, she looked shocked, astounded, and pleased to see me all in the same breath. There was tears, and we had a good few hours catching up. She got some news about work that week, which was very positive, and her health improved, and the whole week was going really, really well. I caught up with family. We went out for lunch. I wake up on the Sunday morning, we're all going out for lunch, and then this happens. We wake up to the news that USA has gone to war with Iran. It's all over the news. The Middle East is being bombed. Dubai and Qatar airports are closed. The airspace is closed and nobody knows what's going on. We have a little nervous laugh about it, and my brother-in-law turns to me and says, don't worry about it, you can stay as long as you want, which was a great relief. We decided to just get on with the day. We went on a pub crawl, Brisbane style, so it was on the city car. Fantastic. Again, something special just to round the trip off and digest the news. Over the next day, I catch up with Anne, and we realised that the journey home isn't going to be as easy as we thought. After a couple of days of looking at options, and everybody's confused, nobody knows whether they should be cancelling the flights, rebooking flights, we end up getting the go-ahead, the assurance from our airlines that it is safe to rebook, and we find a route through the USA home. The safest route is going via San Francisco. Long journey, at least 2 14-hour flights and a 7-hour layover, but it got me back to the UK. I'm from Manchester, so normally we fly into Manchester Airport, but this route took us to London Heathrow. Yeah, I had another 2-hour train journey after I got back to Heathrow, but I can honestly say the trip couldn't have gone easier. Managed to get out of the airport, onto the train and into London and home by lunchtime that day after arriving at Heathrow at 7 in the morning. And the fun thing was I met people in similar situations to me, all trying to find a way home. Met a woman who had suffered a heart attack while she was in Brisbane and spent 3 weeks in hospital. I ended up helping her. I seemed to adopt the role of assisted traveller care on the flight. And then on the second flight, I met a guy from Australia who lived in Cheshire, and he was the same as me, having to replan his journey home. Eventually, I got back to Manchester Piccadilly and met Anne, and we had a download on the train home, and just 1 week later than planned. Yeah, it's like quite an intense journey, and you're running on adrenaline and you're looking after yourself. And when got to the train station and waited for local train to come in to meet Anne, and it was when you see your nearest and dearest there that you realise the journey's over and you're home. And that was when I'd realised I'd made it. So the next trip to Australia will be next year. Fingers crossed. I'm still not sure exactly which airport we'll be travelling through. But yeah, no. On my bucket list is Singapore. I'd like to see Singapore. A long layover in Singapore would be ideal. Yeah, I think one of the things that I'll take away from this is never to assume that everything stays normal. Things can turn on the sixpence, and most of us were struggling with extra costs to get home and the uncertainty. And I remember looking at my insurance policy thinking, I'm not going to pay for that. I'm not going to add that extra because it doesn't seem worth it. But, you know, if you're going to get insurance because there's so many eventualities that you can't plan for, especially when you're traveling to the other side of the world. There's too many things that can affect your journey. I'm glad I wasn't stuck in Qatari airport during the bombings, or my journey home was planned to go via Sydney, and I could have been stuck in Sydney for a week. Right. Well done, guys. That's a wrap.